Rev up your engines!
Well, it looks like the recession is starting. In China, Tesla's slashing their Tesla prices 9%. They're lowering the price of the cars. And old Elon tweeted something about, well, there's a recession starting in China, and now we're lowering our prices to sell these things, right? Well, gee, coronavirus seems like it started in China. Maybe the worldwide recession will start in China now, too, just like the coronavirus. Let's hope it doesn't last as long as coronavirus. As I said, old Elon called it a recession of sorts, whatever that means. So they're lowering the price of the Model 3 to $36,000 equivalent. How come it starts at $48,000 in the United States, you know? Obviously, the Chinese don't have the money, so he sells them cheaper. They're the same car, right? Old Elon, you're gouging the Americans and you're giving the Chinese a deal. Big difference between 48 and 36, of course. Those are the starting prices, the bottom end, but still, it shows the price differential of the same car, China versus the United States. So, hey, Elon's ripping the Americans off, but he's giving a deal to the Chinese, an even bigger one now, because they're lowering it more there. We'll see what happens here when the recession comes to the United States, how they fare. Who's going to be buying these expensive electric cars then? Hyundai refused to replace an engine in a stock 2022 Elantra that, hilariously enough, was owned by one of the techs at one of their dealerships. They have problems with those dual clutch transmissions. I know Hyundais are crap. Slipped like mad. The engine revved up real high and the engine blew. So Hyundai's saying, oh, well, Jack, too bad. You revved your engine up too high and you blew the engine. That's your fault. We're not going to replace the engine. The hilarious thing is, yeah, it revved up high because the stupid transmission slipped like mad and it did it itself. The data on the computer, your computer keeps a lot of data in your car, says the car revved over 8,000 RPMs. But the computer itself on the car is supposed to stop revs at 6,270. It's not supposed to allow the vehicle to rev any higher. But the computer said it did. So the machine itself obviously wasn't made correctly, wasn't designed correctly. Well, we got a rev limiter of 6,270, but this one went over 8,000. Theoretically, it's possible. Well, obviously it happened. It had the data. So the software in the computer system wasn't right in the car. That's Hyundai's fault for building it wrong, but they will not replace the guy's engine. Now, strangely enough, the guy worked for Hyundai, so what could he do? And he wasn't going to pay the ridiculous fee they wanted. Even though the engine had only 18,100 miles and blew up, and had a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, they wouldn't give another engine. And they wanted $13,000 to replace it. So the guy's a mechanic, right? So he got a used one, put it in much cheaper, and he sold it. And he got rid of the stupid thing. I mean, if they won't even replace an engine for one of their own workers because they didn't build it right and it revved up too high. Hey, like I've always said, stay away from Hyundai. They make crap. They pretend they stand behind it. In this case, they didn't even stand behind it for their own employee. So stay away from Hyundai if you value your money. Well, here's a Kia story might kind of make you think twice before you buy a Kia, right? Sherry Hodges sent me this in an email. My son was T-boned in a Kia Soul while he was waiting for the light to change. A girl was texting. Going less than 15 miles an hour. The Kia was crushed like a tin can, but the airbags didn't deploy. He was a little banged up. So I bought him a brand new Kia SUV, but it blew up and burned up on a local highway a couple of months ago. Maybe we're going to end up on the bus. If you would have got a Toyota, it's not going to be blowing up going down the road. There are good cars out there. This is why I tell people don't buy the Korean cars. The airbags didn't deploy. The car was totaled in a wreck. A car gets totaled in a wreck. The airbags certainly should have deployed, but they didn't. Then they bought another Kia and it blew up while they were driving down the road. What do they say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If you get fooled a third time, I don't know who you're supposed to blame that. But don't blame me, because I would have told you, don't get fooled the first time. Don't buy a Kia. The Korean cars are not that well made. They have problems up the wazoo. And as you found out with your son, that you bought him the Kia, the airbags didn't even go up and the car was total in a wreck. Enough said. Low quality, not the car I would buy for my son or my daughter, I'll tell you that. Hey, Rogerson says, the insurance company's trying to force me to total my car. I got 2019 GMC Acadia, leather interior, all the bells. I owe 14 grand. We paid less than 30. Car's 40,000 miles on it. I was in an accident with the side airbags deployed, and the insurance company wants to total it. Should I push them to allow me to have it repaired? They haven't given me an answer yet. You can do whatever you want. See how much money they're offering for the car. If it's more money than you can get it fixed for, you can say, no, give me the money. Then they give you the money, and then there's a total value of the car, which is a few $1,000s. You can buy the car back and then fix it if you want. A lot of guys will do that. It has to be an awful lot of damage to total the car. It's 2019, isn't that old, right? See what they say. Now, personally, me, if it's really high dollar damage, I would not want that Acadia repaired, because the body shops, they do body work, right? They don't understand all the electronics and crap. That car's modern, there's electronics going all through the car. Half the time, it never works the same when it gets in that big of a damage with a modern car. Back in the days, in the 60s, sure, you could fix them. There was an engine with a carburetor on it and a transmission and wheels. Simple. Now, everything's run by computers. They get in a wreck, the computer system starts to get destroyed. I've seen them never work right again. Realize there's a bus line that goes to the car. It's kind of like your backbone. And it does low speed, mid speed, and high speed data. All the data goes on this line. So they're all connected. You get a short and one end of the car can affect the whole car. I often see them never fixed right. When they're in big wrecks today in a modern car and you can get decent enough money to get out of the car, I would not want it fixed. I would tell them, total it, please, please, and go look for something else, because it won't be the same vehicle. Believe me, I rarely see them fix them correctly anymore when they've got big wreck, because there's all this electronic stuff, and the body shops don't know anything about that. They do the body work, and then if something doesn't work, oh, it was like that before, blah, blah, blah. If you do have that done, though, before you sign the check over, take it for a road test, drive it, say, I want to check it. Make sure everything's working. If things aren't working, say it's not fixed right, fix it. And they have to fix it, because once they get the insurance check, good luck having them fix any of the other problems. They never do. White says my Ford Fusion won't crank. I had a new starter put in, it started right up. I drove it around 45 minutes. When I got home and shut it off 3 hours later, it won't start. I jump start it and it starts right up. So I drove it, then again, it won't start. I have to jump start it. Is it the battery or the alternator? It's got to be your battery for one main reason. You jump start and you say you drive all over the place and it keeps running, but then when you shut it off, it won't start. If your alternator is not working, you jump start it, you drive, it'll die, because it's running off the alternator charging the battery. And if it doesn't charge, you just jumped it, the battery's almost flat, it'll stop soon. But if your alternator works fine, you could drive it forever until you turn it off. Then when you turn it off, the battery's flat dead. So you obviously need a battery. Now, go to any auto parts store, they'll test them free, and they can test the machine to make sure. You could have some kind of a weird electrical drain that's draining your battery out. That's rarer than the battery being bad. It's so easy to test the battery itself that just go to any auto parts store. It won't start when I shut it off and I got a new starter, and they'll test it. Odds are your battery's gone bad. Now, if they say the battery's okay, that means you got an electrical short that's draining it. In that case, watch my video, Fixing Battery Drain in Your Car, Scotty, on YouTube. That'll show you how to check for battery drain. It's probably just the battery, though. A supposedly $1.2 billion solar energy with solar panels and solar batteries is going to be set up in the desert of Las Vegas. It's supposed to have 1.4 megawatt hours of storage space. They're going to use 100% cattle batteries. Those are the Chinese company. And they say the batteries have up to 10,000 cycles of life, meaning they can recharge 10,000 times before they wear out, right? Well, here's the thing. You ever fly around East Coast, West Coast? You fly over Nevada, you know what you see? You see an abandoned solar project just sitting there shining in the sun from years ago that failed. Let's see what happens with this one. Bragging about the last one, and it turns out it lost more money than it made, and they just gave up on the thing, and the solar mirrors are still shining in the sun. Well, the ones that aren't broken. So, they're whining about they don't want to use Chinese batteries in the electric cars. Guess what? 100% of them are going to be in this thing in the desert. So, who knows which end is up with the solar energy and storage and stuff. Like I say, they built one there in the desert, all that sun, it failed. It's just sitting there rotting in the sun. They say they're going to have data from 40,000 sensors of the panels to be the most accurate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the scientists promise one thing, and in reality, you see what actually comes out. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. They say it has the potential for all this electricity, what it actually costs, and what they get out of it, and how much the electricity that comes out of it costs, which, of course, is the real thing. Follow the money. The electricity that comes out of these wind jobs that they have around, they don't put out that much for the investment, for the short lifespan. It's foolhardy. It's just another scam that people are pulling. We're going to still be highly reliant on all the power plants we have now. And they mainly run on fossil fuels, be it coal, natural gas, or oil. It takes a lot of energy to run the country. And this, we promised the future. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That other one in Nevada failed. Let's see what happens with this one. Let it run a while and see what happens before you start building all these things all over the place. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.